Welcome to another episode of Anavarna. Today, I have a very fabulous person with me, Rama Saripalli, who is also my aunt. It's such a pleasure to host and interview her.
Hi everyone.
She's an empathetic, people centric, enthusiastic, with extensive interest in women in technology initiative. She's a technologist who leads global customer success at ARM Treasure Data. She's she has established Team Shakti to help women initiatives. She's a chairperson of CWIC, that is Corporate Women's Initiative Consortium, and she's also a co-founder of Sham, that promotes yoga, arts, and music, which further helps and supports health and education of rural villages of India. So, my first question to you is, being in tech industry, can you share a little bit about what it is that you do and what a typical day for you is like?
Hi Pratyusha, thank you so much for a wonderful introduction. Um, so what I do and what my typical day looks like, I head the customer success, which is a little bit new in the new terminology in the industry, which is picking up more because as the sales and adoption process has changed, we are now into software as a service where we are selling our software, and it is very short lived because anybody can change their software very quickly.
Yeah.
So in our in our area, when the sales one sells off something and then there is nobody to hand off to, and then the customer, when they go into the implementation, if it is a little difficult for them and there is no hand holding, then the customer is usually lost. So customer success then steps in to help them onboard, which means that help them adopt the software very quickly, learn how to use the software, learn how to get the maximum value out of the product. And also customer success makes sure that the customer is always the primary and is getting all the value that they have bought the product for. So my team works very hard. It comprises of engineers, technical folks, and management folks, and we hand in hand work with our sales, marketing. So basically, if you look at customer success, it is a centric of the entire organization. So we work with the customers, making sure the product is adopted well, and we bring their concerns back to the product team and our treasure data team. So basically, our team knows where to improve, how to build the product faster, how to go to market faster, so the customers are also happy at the same time, and we build that value towards the product and sales.
Oh, it's it's like very okay. Uh, so, did you always know that you wanted to work in technology, and technology was what you wanted to always do?
So that's a very interesting question, because when I was a kid, I'll tell you an interesting story. When I was a
Okay.
kid, I wanted to become a doctor because that Dr. Rama, it always fascinated me,
Yeah.
adding to my name. Okay. But when I was in ninth grade, now the schools get a lot of funding and you get all the material for the biolab supplied from school. When we were kids, it was not that well funded school and all that. So my teacher told me to bring a frog from from our garden, and I volunteered, as I always volunteer for things. So I went home that night. I caught a frog with the help of a cloth. I put it in a Ziploc, and I poked some holes so the frog can breathe and all of that. And I brought to the class next day. So my teacher put chloroform on the frog. So we were supposed to do the frog dissection, and I had no clue about that. So she put the chloroform on the frog, and before the frog passed out, I passed out, and that was end to my dream of becoming a doctor, because I realized that I cannot see the the wound suffer, or basically do any cuts or anything. So I cannot see blood. I have a phobia of injections, so I could never become a doctor. The next profession that I always was very fascinated about was arts. Basically, I wanted to become a painter, an artist,
Yeah.
or something. But my grandfather was very instrumental that art can be a hobby, but don't make it your profession because it's very difficult. And of course, he guided us from based on his own experiences, and he always thought that I am very sharp in maths and science and all the technology skill field, so I should become an engineer and I should go into the technology field. So that's I listened to him to his instincts, and that's why I'm in the technology area.
Oh, that's really nice. So, like music, talking about dance, music, and art, you are an artist as so like tell me more about dance, music, and your artworks. Like, what have you done?
So yeah, sure. So I was very passionate from my childhood to learn music. I always thought I'm no less than Lata Mangeshkar as a singer, which is not even negative percent on my side. But whatever, there is nothing wrong in dreaming about things,
Yeah.
right? So I was very much interested in singing. And since my younger sister was very much into dance, so I also picked up the dance as a passion as well. But more than dance, singing was my passion since my childhood. And but since we grew up in Jamshedpur, we did not have that many opportunities. Art was something I used to do on my own, and art is something that probably it needed least guidance also
Yeah.
from, or maybe I had more inclination towards that. So I started from looking at a picture and then sketching that one, and then at one point when my mom was not like really getting me a teacher, I was in some friend's house, and there was this person who was visiting. He was some relative of that friend, and he had finished his art degree from Rabindranath Tagore School of Art from Kolkata. And so he was looking for art students. So I took him home with me, and I told my mom that he's a very good teacher, and I would like to learn from him. So I got an opportunity to learn from him for 1 year, but he taught me how to visualize things and how to sketch. And it was very short. I wish I had learned more, so I would have been even better. I think I'm kind of okay in the art also. I wouldn't say I'm great, because now when I see you guys doing all these paintings and sketches and like how you bring your creativity, I think I never explored that side of area. But yeah, music. Then once I came to US, and I learned initially from one of my teachers, Mrs. Seema, and then she moved to India. Then I started learning from Bharati, and she moved to India.
Oh.
Then I thought, completely jinxed, I should not even look for a teacher, but found Mahesh Kaleji, and I learned from him for a few years. But with growing responsibilities and my work, mainly because of my work and travel, I have taken a break from both music and dance. And I learned Kuchipudi from
Yeah.
my guru Samida for 5 years, and now I took a break from that as well.
So, like, how is it? Like, how do you balance your work and life? Be with involved in all of these activities. How do you balance your work and life?
That's a very good question, Pratyusha. I don't think there is something called a balance, or there is always a balance. I mean, sometimes you do something more, sometimes you do something less. But one uh, quote that Swami Shivananda, if I have to say, like that, I follow Bihar School of Yoga very closely. So once my Guruji had sent me in a letter Swami Shivananda's quote, which says, "Eat a little, drink a little, sleep a little, work a little." So there are like itis, 8 itis of Swami Shivananda, which he says like you do everything little bit in the day.
Okay.
Just because you're eating does not mean that you keep on eating for the day. You're sleeping does not mean you keep sleeping for the day. Don't pick on one thing, but whatever you are doing, keep doing everything in a smaller segments.
Yeah.
So in your life, you basically, when you see for the next 10 years, 5 years, 15 years, whatever, that small addition becomes like an ocean. So like, there is a saying in Hindi, boond boond se ghat bharta hai. So it's
Yeah.
like, with every drop, you basically make an ocean, or make a pot, fill the pot out of the drops. So that's what I do. I know it's at one point, now when I think back, I used to do a lot. I was learning music, I was learning dance, I
Yeah.
was working full time, I was working for my non-profit Team Shakti. Then I was like, volunteering for some other
Yeah.
non-profits. I was doing a lot at one point, and now I think I have kind of taken a break from a lot of things, so I can like focus more on few things. But everything has its pros and cons. When
Yeah.
you're doing a lot,
That's
then
true.
you don't know, then there is no quality work happening. But
Yeah.
when you're doing less, then there's quality work happening. But then the cons is that you miss the opportunity of doing other things as well in your
Yeah.
life. So you have to draw the line sometimes.
Yeah, but that's really amazing, like managing your work and then managing all the non-profit things. And apart from that, your music, dance, art, everything. So it takes really a matter of, a great courage, or I would say, confidence, to handle everything. So, like being a
Right.
brown woman, you are from Jamshedpur and being a brown woman. Yeah, you wanted to say
Yeah.
something. Yeah, please.
Yeah, so you touched upon a good point called confidence, and I
Yeah,
just wanted to say that confidence is something that we like. It is inbuilt in us because of our upbringing, because of our parents believing in us that whatever we are doing the right thing when we were kids. And then when I got married, when my husband like supported very well all the while, and if everybody around you is not supporting, then it is very difficult to do everything that you want to do actually.
yeah,
So that
ab-
support system, if the family, our friends, our co-workers, our office, our employees, our team members, everyone, if they are not supporting us, like even sometimes when I feel like so down or something, then I call up to my sisters like, hey, this is not working, that is not working. So
yeah,
that support actually builds the confidence. So
yeah.
yeah, you are very right that the confidence is there that we will be able to do it.
That's amazing. Like, anyways, moving to our next question. Like, being a brown woman, you are from Jamshedpur, as you told. Being a brown woman, like, did you face any difficulties as such in the tech industry?
To be see, if I, and this is a very sensitive topic, these
Yeah,
days when you talk about gender discrimination, or me too movement, or whatever it is, like not everyone believes in these things, and
yeah,
then not everyone probably would have gone through a lot of it. But consciously, subconsciously, unconsciously, we are all biased. It
yes,
doesn't have to
yeah,
be a man or a woman or a brown or a white, or a color specific or a country specific or region specific. We are biased, we have our own biases. So I, based on the place where I grew up, the society where I grew up, the social mindset that I grew up, I will have my own biases. And like one of my friend keeps it says it very well, it's like our social conditioning. So we're conditioned in a way
yes,
to think in a certain way.
yeah,
So that bias is always there, and it will remain, because we are all human beings. At the end of the day, we are all emotional people. We have
yeah,
our own emotions to play with. So that will happen. And yeah, I would say that there was bias, but I would say that if I have to look at the pro versus con, like, or the negative versus positive, I had very supportive mentors also. I had very supportive bosses also. One of my bosses from when working at NetApp, and I like to quote her in some of my interviews because I remember when she joined the team, and I was a business analyst at that time in her team, and she said, how long are you going to be business analyst? This role is has grown up on you. You should go look for a IT project manager role. And within 2 weeks actually, and she pushed me so hard and she motivated me so well that within 2 weeks, I internally within the NetApp, I went and I got a program manager role. And I had the new hiring manager talk to my current manager and make sure that we transition into that role. And she was like laughing at me, like, I just asked you to become a. So in those days, project management is just like you're managing one project or couple of projects, but program management was about project management, which is basically under you there'll be many projects, and then project managers, you need to manage those projects and the project managers to become a program manager. So basically what I want to explain is that I went from the level that she wanted to ask me to move one level, but I moved 2 levels up. And
That's
but
amazing.
that is support. Yeah, that's the kind of support your
Yeah.
managers provide you. So that, yeah, I had very good managers. I had very people who supported me throughout. There are many good co-workers, and some of the managers who never accepted that they are my managers. They always said, no, you know better than us, so I consider you as my friend, so that is like some of the things that encourages you when people say things like that, it
Yes.
always builds your confidence.
Yes.
So that way, even though there was bias, even though there was discrimination, but more than that, since I this support, I could ignore those things, and I could be, um, very much very much focus on my forward growth.
Yeah, so support system we all need in, in every place we go. So yeah, so it's really nice. Then,
Right.
okay, so like you have been doing the Team Shakti project, the CWIC project. You were the co-founder of Sham. So like, what around women and technology passionates you about?
Uh, so again, whenever we say women and technology, people think that it is very much specific to women. And I one uh, uh, misconception that I want to clarify, and thanks for asking this question, that when we say women in technology, it does not mean that leaving men behind. It does not mean that women need to progress in the field and
Yeah,
compete against men. It is not like that. It is being ally with men. And so when the whole work structure started, and definitely there were more men, because women were more focused on taking care of the household. They were
yeah,
more primarily as housewives, and that is how the society was, and that's how, of course, I cannot say that it was my grandparents generation where probably they were not working, right? But my parents generation, my mom was working, all my aunts were working, all the relatives who were women around me, I saw everybody working and earning their own. I never, I don't think in our house anybody was not working, right? So that of course always gave that thing. Then I came here and I was started to work volunteer in women in technology when I was at NetApp. I realized that there are many, what I used to see in India, like there in rural villages, there are a lot of underprivileged people who are working, but they're not working in the tech industry.
yeah,
So then when you that means that they are not focused on their studies, they don't care about technology, they are like still that old fashioned I'll, you know how in Indian villages how it
Yeah,
happens. They go
yeah,
household in others' houses, or they are working in the farms or something, or they're doing like labor work for less money, because that's the only option they think that is
yeah.
available. And it is not that that's the only option. It is just that they're not aware of
They
other
are not
options.
aware. Yes,
So
exactly.
through women, so through women and technology, and you know, we can use technology in every field. It doesn't have you have to sit at the computer and do, do everything, and that is what only it means technology. Now, if you see, if because of the pandemic, everyone is running things through Zoom. Everyone is, even the dancers and
Yes,
artists, like you would connect more with that everyone is doing having their own YouTube channel, or
yeah,
having their own Facebook live sessions or Zoom sessions and all that, right? So this is all related to technology. So
yes,
so that what do you call the hesitation for people to think about technology is what I want to eliminate from people, and that is why I'm more passionate to tell people that technology is not a bad thing. You know, make friends with it. Whatever, we are in a progressive generation, at some point, I don't know if you when we were kids, we used to watch all these TV shows when it would show that there's a time machine, you can go
yeah,
like in the future, you can go in the past. And then there was like, the Zoom calls and all. This was all like a fake thing when we were kids, like having a FaceTime or something, right? But now you are in India and US, and we are talking on
yeah,
this was all like a imagination thing when we were
yeah,
kids, right? Oh,
yeah,
sometime it might happen, it will look
yeah,
like now it is a reality, right? So that is what the beauty of technology is, that whenever in that it definitely brings lots and lots of progression to our way of life. And that is what I'm very much passionate about. Through technology, how we can connect with each other, how we can, make that change or
yeah,
difference into our life. So that's why I'm passionate about women in technology. Well, more because women hesitate to come forward, which is more natural instinct in men.
yeah,
There is nothing. Maybe there are men also who are not very much into technology. It could be possible, but based on the data that we see, based on the ratio that we used to see. Now it has changed quite a bit in my 23 years of career in technology here in US. But when I had joined, I used to mostly I was the only person in my department. Like if and mostly since I worked in the analysis and professional services and all, it was more sales. It is more male dominated field. So yeah, it was very surprising for me that I was the only female in my team and all of that. So that's what I wanted to change: more women to come forward and adapt and adopt technology.
So my last question to you is: we all have role models in our life. So who do you look up to, like when it comes to your role model?
My actual guru, or my actual role model, or what it was from my childhood, was my grandfather. And he meant a lot. Whatever I am now is because of him. He pushed me very hard, starting from, you can call it anything, like doing art, or being spiritual, or writing, literature, math, English, everything. I have to give that credit to him. Because when I was very young, I grew up in my grandmother's house for until I think I was in second grade, and then I went back to stay with my parents. But I would come and stay here more often because I had that affinity with my grandfather. He will wake me up 4 in the morning. There was no exception to the rule. And then he will make me by heart all those chantings that he used to do every single day, like Aditya Hridayam and Ramaraksha Stotram and Suprabhatam and everything. So a few I still remember, some of them I forgot because of the gap in the thing, but if I listen to it, probably I'll pick it up again. So that. Then when I used to do any drawing painting, he would say, oh my god, this is fabulous, nobody in the world can make this kind of art. Okay, so it could be at that time, it could be fake when others might see and like think, oh my god, what is he saying? But that encouragement stayed with me. It made
Yeah.
me do more and more paintings. Then I got into cooking, like since very young time. I just got fascinated into cooking. So if I make something and if I just give him, he would say, oh my god, this is amazing, it's like this is like nectar and all, right? So um then and he never gave any fake compliments to anybody. So like my younger sister used to make tea, and to his last day he said nobody made tea better than her. I can go up and down, above and beyond. I would follow her recipe to the T, but he will just have one sip and he will just tell us who made that tea.
Yeah.
He will say, no, this is not dog tea, you know.
Yeah.
So he was very meticulous. It was not that it was a fake thing. It was very genuine. Then when he moved to Kanpur and I was in seventh grade at that time, he made me write letters to him, and he did not accept that I would write in Hindi. So I have to write in English. And of course, going to Hindi medium, my English was not that great. So that's how I learned how to write English, how to write letters, how to communicate. And I did more research and I had more vocabulary. So, everything that I learned, probably I'll give the end, like even writing poems. I was not into writing poems as a kid, and I did a pathetic job. I remember I wrote some poem and I showed it to him, and he said, please, this is not your cup of tea and you should not write poems. I wish he was alive now to listen to my poems, because I think, because my mom tells me, and I think I do a little than I used to do as a kid, but much better than what I did as a kid. But it's like, okay, in the literature world, at least I am confident that I can, post these in the
Yeah.
social media. So yeah, my grandfather was there, and then were my parents, definitely. And my grandmother, like my dad's mom, she was also very instrumental. Very when we are kids, it definitely matters how our earlier generation is, how everyone is, how everyone looks up to you,
Yeah.
what they are telling you as a kid, what they're telling you, it stays with us for a very long, forever with us. And that is why it is very, very important to have very strong parents, very strong grandparents, very strong um, mm, family environment. And my grandmother was also like very forward thinking. I remember she used to tell me that, she was very proficient in English, many languages. She could speak many languages very well. Like she could converse in Tamil, Malayalam, English, Hindi. She could read newspapers, and I was like amazed at her meticulous, like that passion for languages. She used to cook amazingly good. Like I have never come across, like my maternal grandmother also used to cook, but somehow I remember more of my paternal grandmother, like her cooking, And I was just talking to my sisters a couple of days back when they said that my like even if my grandmother would make simple rasam, it it used to taste like heavenly. I don't know how. I mean, I have followed her recipe to the core, but like my grandfather said that no, you cannot bring that element
Yeah.
in it. And yeah, we can never bring that element in it. So that's how she was. So, and being a single mother having kids, My grandfather, my dad's side, my grandfather passed away when I was just 2 years. I don't have any memories of my grandfather from my dad's side. I only know my mom's side. But my grandmother, being a single woman, not working, 9 kids, managing the entire family, and keeping them in a joint family. I think that's an amazing organizational job, just like a CEO.
Yeah,
So you can learn so much from them, how to manage the finances for the entire month, how to manage like in a family when there are like 25 people. You cannot like exactly cook same amount of food every single day and think that it'll be consumed.
yeah,
Some people will eat more, some people will eat less. Managing all of that and keeping it very balanced. When you ask me like how do I balance my life, it is easy because I've seen my mom working and getting masters after having 5 kids and working full time in a school. We do kind of like 10% of what they have done to balance our lives. So ours is, I always, if the day when I'm like very tired or I'm about to give up, I think about these people. I was like, no, 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 if they can do it, I should be able to do it. And I just kick myself.
that's
So
really amazing.
yeah.
Yeah. So I would like to thank Samudbhava organization for giving me this opportunity to interview my aunt. It was really a wonderful opportunity provided by them. And thank you so much, Rama Saripalli ma'am, for joining in and giving the interview. Thank you.
Thanks, Pratyusha, and thank you, Bhava, for this opportunity to speak to everybody. Thank you.